It's 1947, deep in the frozen wasteland of Antarctica. Admiral Richard Byrd's massive fleet, 13 ships, 4,700 men, and dozens of aircraft plows through treacherous ice on what the world believes is a routine scientific expedition. But suddenly, chaos erupts. Strange disc-shaped objects streak across the sky, defying gravity, unleashing bursts of energy that cripple American planes and force ships to retreat in panic. Pilots radio back tales of impossible maneuvers, craft vanishing into the ice like ghosts. Byrd's forces, the mightiest ever assembled in the polar south, limp home weeks early, with unexplained losses and a veil of secrecy descending like an eternal blizzard. What attacked them? Nazi remnants wielding forbidden technology? Ancient guardians from a lost civilization? Or something not of this world, lurking beneath the ice, waiting for intruders? These questions have haunted historians and explorers for decades, and even today, in 2025, new discoveries only deepen the enigma. Just last June, scientists at a cosmic particle detector in Antarctica reported bizarre radio pulses emanating from deep beneath the ice, signals that defy our understanding of particle physics, pulsing with an otherworldly rhythm. Could these be echoes of long-buried machines, or communications from a hidden realm? Reports from the New York Post and Phys.org describe these mysterious waves as originating from unknown sources under the frozen sheet, sparking whispers of concealed bases or alien artifacts. And that's not all. Earlier this year, in March, researchers uncovered Pine Island amber fossilized tree resin from a time when Antarctica was lush and green, hinting at a temperate paradise lost to time. But why now? As glaciers melt faster than ever, revealing hidden rivers and extremophile life forms thriving in subglacial darkness, one can't help but wonder, what else is emerging from the thaw? A forgotten continent's secrets? Or a warning that some truths were meant to stay buried? Let's pull back the curtain on this frozen mystery, starting with a map that shouldn't exist, a 16th century relic that seems to peer through time itself. In 1513, Ottoman Admiral Piri Reis, a seafarer whose real name was Haji Ahmed Muhyiddin Piri, compiled a world map on gazelle skin, drawing from 20 ancient sources, including charts from the time of Alexander the Great and even a lost map by Christopher Columbus. Discovered in 1929 amid the dusty archives of Istanbul's Topkapi Palace, this fragment, measuring about 90 by 65 centimeters, depicts the Atlantic coasts with startling accuracy. Europe, Africa, the Americas, they're all there, but it's the southern edge that stops you cold. A landmass stretching across the bottom, detailed with bays, rivers, and mountains that match Antarctica's subglacial topography, as revealed by modern seismic scans and satellite data from the United States Air Force in the 1962nd. But here's the impossible part. Piri Reis drew Antarctica without its ice cap, as if charting a green, fertile land from a warmer era. Glaciologists tell us the continent's ice sheet is millions of years old, yet recent core samples show anomalies, pollen from ancient forests, freshwater diatoms, and ash layers, suggesting brief thaws as recent as 6,000 years ago. Piri Reis annotated that this southern coast was from ancient times, before it was covered by ice. How did he know? His sources included vague references to forbidden charts, perhaps smuggled from conquered libraries in Alexandria or Byzantium. Under ultraviolet light, the ink on this section glows faintly green, unlike the rest, with trace elements not native to Ottoman lands hinting at recycled vellum from an even older map, overwritten like a palimpsest of lost knowledge. This map fuels the timeless legend of Atlantis, Plato's sunken utopia from 360 before Common Era. In his dialogues Timaeus and Critias, Plato described an advanced island empire that vanished 9,000 years before his time in a cataclysm of floods and earthquakes. Modern theorists like Graham Hancock, in books such as Fingerprints of the Gods and his Netflix series Ancient Apocalypse, argue Atlantis wasn't in the Atlantic but centered on Antarctica during the last ice age. Hancock proposes a crustal displacement, a radical shift in Earth's outer shell around 12,000 years ago, dragging Antarctica south into eternal freeze. This aligns with the Younger Dryas period, a sudden cold snap that ended the Ice Age, causing global floods mirrored in myths from Noah's Ark to Sumerian epics. Evidence? Satellite images from NASA's Grace missions reveal pyramid-like structures in the Ellsworth Mountains, over 2,000 feet tall, with symmetries too perfect for nature alone. In 2016, Google Earth anomalies sparked frenzy over these pyramids. Dismissed as Nunataks, wind-sculpted rocks, but their cardinal alignments echo Egypt's Giza Plateau. Hancock ties this to the Piri Reis map spirals, symbols recurring in ancient sites from Irish dolmens to Ethiopian pillars, perhaps codes for Atlantean tech. What if Atlantis was a seafaring superpower, mapping the world before catastrophe? Survivors, fleeing the shift, seeded civilizations in Egypt and Mesopotamia, carrying fragments of knowledge like ice-free Antarctica passed down through secret societies. But the plot darkens with the Nazis' obsession. In the 1932, Adolf Hitler, influenced by occult groups like the Thule Society, sought ancient Aryan roots in polar myths. The 1938 to 1939 German Antarctic expedition aboard the Schwabenland claimed New Swabia in Queen Maud Land, dropping swastika markers from seaplanes. Officially for whaling, but conspiracy whispers of hidden agendas. Establishing Base 211, a subterranean fortress using geothermal energy for heat, where Nazis developed Die Glock, a bell-shaped device for anti-gravity propulsion, blending mercury vortex engines with ancient Vril energy from esoteric texts. Post-war, U-boats U-530 and U-977 surfaced in Argentina months after VE Day, their crews silent on southern voyages. Did they ferry Hitler or his ashes to Antarctic havens? Hungarian exile Ladislas Szabo's 1947 book claimed yes, fueling tales of Neuschwabenland, a Nazi redoubt with flying saucers. Enter Operation High Jump in 1946 to 1947, the largest Antarctic force ever, led by Admiral Byrd, with 4,700 men, 13 ships, and 33 aircraft. Officially for mapping and training, but declassified docs hint at more countering Soviet threats or Nazi remnants. Byrd's logs, leaked or not, describe a lush valley beyond the pole, with advanced beings warning of nuclear doom. The expedition ended abruptly, planes lost to disk, shaped craft emerging from ice, ships damaged by energy bursts, 3 fatalities from a crash, but whispers of more. Byrd, in a Chilean interview, spoke of enemies flying pole to pole at incredible speeds. Was High Jump repelled by Nazi UFOs? Authors like Ernst Zundel in UFOs. Nazi secret weapon claimed yes, linking to Haunebu discs saucer prototypes from SS engineers, powered by Schoberger's repulsin engines. Fast forward to 1958's Operation Argus. 3 secret nuclear blasts over the South Atlantic, thousands of kilometers north. But theorists say they targeted Antarctic anomalies. Why? To seal entrances to Hollow Earth, where Nazis allied with inner-world beings. Recent 2025 discoveries amplify this. Strange radio pulses from ice depths, defying physics, perhaps from buried tech. A New Zealand team found extremophiles under glaciers, life in impossible conditions, echoes of Atlantean bioengineering, and that massive cavity under the ice, 300 miles wide, detected by Grace satellites hollowed by melt or ancient excavation. UFO sightings persist. Chilean Navy footage from 2004 of hovering orbs, 2019 radar echoes near Roswell, like sites in Antarctica. Whistleblowers like Bob Lazar describe recovered craft with non-human biologics, some from polar crashes. In August 2025, a post on X by user at RedPilb0T revived base 211 Tails, linking to ancient-code.com. Nazis tapping Vril for propulsion, repelling High Jump with saucers. User at Chrisjo00291974 added, they didn't vanish, they relocated. Powered by entities not entirely human. These threads weave a tapestry of forbidden history. Atlantis as a green Antarctic cradle, mapped pre-freeze, knowledge hoarded by elites, revived by Nazis, guarded today by treaties banning militarization. The 1959 Antarctic Treaty, signed amid Cold War hides, pyramids, bases, portals. As ice melts, hidden rivers surge, carrying pollen from lost forests. Will they reveal Atlantean ruins or Nazi relics? Or signals from below, as 2025's radio waves suggest, calling to those who listen? What if Antarctica isn't a dead continent but a living archive, pulsing with memories of worlds before ours? Pyramids under ice, saucers in caverns, signals from the deep, truth or illusion. The questions pull like magnetic poles, defying answers, urging us onward. And now, as we pause on this edge of the unknown, allow me to introduce myself properly. Good evening, dear listeners, and welcome to Mystery History for Sleep. I am Mr. H, your guide through the shadows of the past, where forgotten truths whisper in the quiet hours before slumber. Tonight, we've plunged into the frozen heart of Antarctica's secrets, from Piri Reis's impossible map to the shadows of Atlantis and Nazi whispers. If these tales stir your curiosity as they do mine, consider subscribing to the channel. It's where we keep the mysteries alive, one whispered story at a time. And if you'd like a gentle nudge when new episodes drop, turn on that notification bell. It'll be our quiet signal in the night. Until our next journey, let these questions drift you into peaceful dreams. Good night. Have you ever stumbled upon an old book in a dusty library, its pages yellowed and brittle, only to find a map tucked inside that shows lands you've never heard of, places that feel strangely familiar, as if they've been plucked from a half-remembered dream? That's how it started for me, years ago, when I first encountered a forgotten atlas in a second-hand shop on the outskirts of London. The map inside depicted a sprawling continent west of Australia, labelled Terra, shaped like a curled claw with rivers snaking in impossible patterns. It wasn't just a drawing. It felt like a challenge, daring me to question everything I knew about the world's geography. And as I dug deeper, I realized this wasn't an isolated oddity. Scattered across history are maps like this, charts of phantom lands that appeared for centuries, only to vanish from records as if they were never there. What secrets were they hiding? Who decided they should be erased? And why do modern whispers on social media and hidden archives keep bringing them back, insisting that these lost worlds hold the key to rewriting our past? Let's trace this enigma back to the late 16th century, to a Flemish navigator named Cornelius Deutman, who returned from a voyage through the East Indies in 1592 with a map that defied the known world. Deutman's chart, now a rarity preserved in fragments within Portuguese monasteries, outlined Terra in meticulous detail, a landmass clawing westward from Australia, etched with rivers that mirrored no modern waterways and coordinates that aligned with nothing on contemporary charts. He described it as a place of curled shores and echoing bays, visible only under certain moons, annotated with patterns that hinted at ancient origins. But here's where the curiosity turns to intrigue. This outline matched an artifact unearthed near the ancient city of Eridu in Samaria, a clay disc from around 4000 before Common Era, baked with an identical curve, not named, but marked with symbolic etchings that scholars still puzzle over. 6,000 years apart, yet the shapes were twins. How could a Mesopotamian relic foresee a land Deutman claimed to have glimpsed? Was Terra a remnant of a forgotten epoch, or something more, a deliberate insertion into maps to encode warnings about unstable realities? Deutman's map didn't survive unscathed. By the 19th century, Terra had been scrubbed from British maritime charts and French atlases as if it had never existed. Archivists, when pressed, offered no explanations. Some denied its presence altogether. Yet, brittle prints linger in monastic archives, their fading ink whispering of a coastline drawn and redrawn until it was deemed too dangerous to remain. This erasure wasn't accidental. As nation-states solidified their power, maps transformed from canvases of curiosity into instruments of control. The unknown was no longer tolerated. It was expunged to enforce certainty. But why Terra Apis specifically? Some speculate it represented a portal zone, a region where seas folded and compasses spun wildly, much like the infamous Bermuda Triangle. Modern theories link these phantom lands to dimensional anomalies, places where time and space bend, swallowing ships and planes. Could Terra Apis have been an early marker for such a vortex, erased to prevent explorers from stumbling into forbidden realms? Shifting our gaze northward, we encounter another spectral presence, Antilia, the island that haunted European maps for over 2 centuries. First appearing on the Dulert map of 1339, a medieval nautical chart with swirling winds and mythical beasts, Antilia emerges along the western edge as a semicircular refuge, labelled as a sanctuary for knowledge, unreachable except by storm. For generations, it graced charts across Europe, from Italian portolans to Spanish navigational aids, depicted as a haven of 7 cities founded by bishops fleeing Moorish invasions in the 8th century. Legend tells of these holy men sailing westward, discovering an island of verdant hills and crystalline waters, where they built gleaming metropolises untouched by war. Portuguese explorers in the 15th century sought it obsessively, convinced it held treasures and arcane wisdom. The 1424 map by Zuane Pizzigano marks it prominently, with the legend of the 7 cities inscribed in flowing script, fueling voyages that named the Antilles in its shadow. Yet, by the early 16th century, Antilia began to fade. A letter from 1508, penned by an advisor to the Spanish crown, dismissed it as frequently reported, but serving no present maritime utility, recommending its exclusion from future charts. Not disproven, not debunked, simply excluded. This pattern repeats. Erasures passed like heirlooms until the island dissolved into myth, but echoes persist. In a chapel in Girona, Spain, a stone arch chiseled before Columbus's voyages depicts a world map with 2 unnamed islands in the Atlantic, facing like twin eyes, one bearing an open circle symbol. Predating official discoveries by a century, it raises the tantalizing possibility that Antilia wasn't fantasy, but a veiled reference to Atlantis under another guise, a remnant continent whose survivors ceded European lore. Conspiracy circles point to the Vatican as the architect of this vanishing, suggesting the Church suppressed Antilia to conceal ties to pre-Christian knowledge, perhaps ancient texts or artifacts that challenged biblical timelines. Illuminati theorists go further, claiming the island's coordinates align with ley lines, energetic grids crisscrossing the Earth erased to hoard power over these mystical conduits. Now, consider the 18th century cartographer Philippe Boissche, whose 1737 map presented a peculiar vision. An unknown island positioned northwest of Cuba, east of the Yucatan, labelled simply as Île Inconnue. Boissche, a respected French geographer and member of the Royal Academy of Sciences, based his drawing on maritime logs from French and Dutch vessels returning from the West Indies. These accounts described inexplicable currents, curving around unseen shores, storms breaking against invisible barriers, and seabirds circling empty horizons. Boissche gave precise coordinates, not vague impressions, marking a place that emerged during low tides and vanished under full moons. Captains altered routes to avoid it, reporting compass needles dancing wildly and winds falling silent in its presence. Boissche's island echoed earlier Spanish charts, labelling it Isla das Sombras, the Island of Shadows, a flickering green edge at dusk, shimmering before dissolving into blue. Yet by 1785, it too disappeared from maps, omitted first by the British Admiralty, then French naval charts. No retraction, no note, just absence. Fast forward to 2001. A submarine survey for fibre optic cables detected an anomalous elevation at Boissche's exact coordinates, a flat shelf 300 feet below the waves, crescent-shaped with precisely spaced ridges. Oceanographers mapped it with side-scan sonar, revealing terraces and a central trench resembling a sunken acropolis. Officially labelled a geological anomaly, internal logs whispered of city-like imprints, distorted by eons. Acoustic tests in 2014 recorded low-frequency rhythms from the seafloor, forming spirals akin to ancient European dolmens. This ties into broader conspiracies surrounding the Bermuda Triangle, that notorious stretch of ocean where ships and planes vanish without trace. Charles Berlitz's 1974 book, The Bermuda Triangle, linked disappearances to Atlantis's remnants, suggesting submerged crystals from the lost city generate electromagnetic fields that warp reality. Theorists propose Ile-Nkonu as a triangle gateway, a cortex of time where dimensions overlap, erasing vessels into parallel realms. Illuminati involvement surfaces again. Why else would governments restrict deep-sea exploration there? Recent X posts from users like at Quantum Tumblr speculate these erased islands are memory breaches in our simulation, coded anomalies the elite patch to maintain control. Another, at the beacon signal, describes concentric maps as timeless decoders, hinting at outer rings beyond our contained world. Weaving in the Orontius Phineas map of 1531 adds another layer of wonder. Discovered by Charles Hapgood in 1960, this chart shows a vast southern land, Terra Australis, uncannily matching Antarctica's ice-free outline, with rivers and mountains where modern scans reveal buried features. Phineas, a French mathematician, claimed sources from antiquity, perhaps Ptolemaic libraries. Hapgood argued it proved ancient seafarers charted the continent pre-freeze, but critics rotate and distort it to fit. Yet, in 2021 YouTube analyses, like Awful Archaeology's episode, highlight its precision, fueling debates on pre-Ice Age civilizations. Conspiracy enthusiasts tie it to Tartaria, a supposed erased empire spanning Eurasia and beyond, whose maps were purged by communists and globalists to fabricate history. X threads from at Bright Insight 6 link it to Atlantis at Africa's Richat structure, a bullseye formation matching Plato's description, with recent satellite data showing ancient riverbeds. These maps, Terra Apis, Antilia, Ile-Nkonu, Orontius Phineas, aren't mere errors. They're breadcrumbs to a suppressed narrative, worlds within worlds, erased to preserve power. Vatican archives allegedly hold originals, guarded by orders like the Jesuits, who catalogued but concealed them during conquests. Illuminati symbols on these charts' eyes in circles, spirals suggest encoded knowledge for initiates only. Bermuda Triangle ties amplify the Tomo. If these islands are gateways, vanished craft might resurface in alternate timelines, as theorized in Reddit conspiracies where disappearances feed a dimensional harvest. As shadows lengthen and questions multiply, one lingers. What if these erased lands aren't lost but waiting? Their coordinates are summons for those bold enough to seek. The past isn't buried, it's redacted, and peeling back the layers might reveal realities we were never meant to remember. Stay tuned, for the maps only grow stranger from here. And speaking of journeys, I'm curious, where are you listening from tonight? Perhaps a cozy corner in New York, a quiet village in Vietnam, or somewhere under the stars in Australia? What time is it there as you drift with these mysteries? Let me know, and let's keep exploring these hidden worlds together. Picture Greenland's ice sheet, a vast frozen fortress stretching endlessly under a sky that seems to hold its breath. In the summer of 2025, satellites captured a spectacle that rewrote the rules of this icy realm. A subglacial lake, sealed for 100,000 years, burst through nearly 300 feet of ice in a cataclysmic flood. 90 billion liters of meltwater-carved craters fractured the surface and roared with a force that reshaped our understanding of this polar giant. Heated by Earth's geothermal pulse and the crushing weight above, this wasn't just a natural event, it was a glimpse into a hidden underworld, alive with secrets. As the water surged, it hinted at other reservoirs waiting to erupt, threatening to drown coastlines worldwide. What lies beneath this thawing shield, ready to surface as the ice retreats? This discovery is only the latest in a string of enigmas that have long captivated explorers and ignited wild speculation. In 1932, during the International Polar Year, a Soviet research team near the ice sheet detected rhythmic pulses low, steady vibrations persisting for months, strongest where ancient maps once marked vanished lakes. Dismissed as equipment errors, these signals defied tectonic explanations. Decades later, ground-penetrating radar faltered at the same site, sparking theories of unnatural forces at work. Inuit elders whisper of songs from the deep, drumbeats revealing hollows where the ice seems to breathe, guiding migrations not by stars but by tone. Could these be echoes of a forgotten world? Perhaps Hyperborea, the mythical northern paradise of Greek lore, a land of eternal spring where mortals mingled with gods. Hyperborea, described by ancient writers like Herodotus and Pliny, was a realm beyond the north wind, bathed in endless sunlight, its people living in harmony with nature. Some place it in Greenland's ancient past, when the island was a verdant bridge between continents. Norse maps from the 15th century, like one preserved in Copenhagen dated 1427, show Greenland not as a frozen waste but laced with northward flowing rivers, deltas branching into basins rich with fish, and forests etched with runes. These weren't artistic flourishes. Faint carbon scoring beneath the ink suggests they were copied from older, lost parchments. Glacial radar in the 1990s confirmed sub-ice channels matching these rivers, buried under a mile of frost. How could medieval sailors chart landscapes unseen for millennia? The mystery deepens with a 2-kilometre-wide void near Summit Station, filled not with ice but compressed air and sediment, too symmetrical for natural erosion. Modern scans align eerily with a 17th-century seaman's almanac from a Dutch wreck, a linen insert depicting Greenland from below, layers of stone and ice encasing a hollow marked with a tuning fork glyph. Inuit tales call these zones warm spots, where mist rises in winter, compasses spin wildly, and dogs refuse to approach. Fishermen shun them, naming them observation points not for dwelling, but for remembering. In 2025, as Greenland's ice melts faster than ever, these voids multiply, with NASA's GRACE satellites revealing cavities expanding like living lungs beneath the sheet. Theorists link these anomalies to Hyperborea as a sunken utopia, perhaps part of a greater lost continent like Mu or Lemuria, shifted by catastrophic pole changes. Ancient Chinese maps, such as the Shanhai Yudi Quantu from 1607, portray Greenland tilted, its western coast jagged with fjords labelled for sound, not wind. Madal al-Salt, the gateway of sound, refers to intonation, as if the land itself responded. Geological surveys confirm fault lines producing harmonic resonances audible for 90 seconds, chords lingering like ancient melodies. In 2024, similar tones were recorded under Antarctic ice, but Greenland's are deeper, more insistent, as if tuned to recall something lost. The seismic events of 2025 add fuel to the intrigue. Mega tsunamis in eastern fjords, triggered by landslides, sent waves 200 meters high, with seismic signals pulsing every 90 seconds for 9 days. Satellite imagery captured standing waves, seiches trapped in Dixon Fjord, rocking the Earth like a colossal bell. Oxford researchers, using Sentinel data, observed these directly, tying them to climate extremes. But online forums buzz with bolder claims. These events aren't natural but tests of hidden technology, perhaps relics from secret polar expeditions or extraterrestrial bases humming in coded rhythms. Some link these to Norse charts showing Greenland in an equatorial past, its ice a recent veil. Beneath the surface, meteor craters add to the enigma. Hiawatha and another nearby, 22 miles wide, buried under ice layers. These impact scars, ancient yet symmetrical, spark speculation of artificial origins, portals, or crash sites. In 2021, studies mapped 6 mysterious structures, canyons rivaling the grand, gem-like lakes from pre-glacial times, and a basin once holding water the size of Rhode Island. Fossils unearthed in 2024 seeds, twigs, insects confirm the island's center melted recently, with greenhouse gases lower than today. By August 2025, reports warn of a potential 25-foot sea level rise, If history repeats, a catastrophe encoded in the ice. Official silence from agencies like NASA amplifies suspicion. Why classify GRACE data showing expanding voids? Rumors swirl of covert operations at Thule Air Base, where compasses falter and auroras dance unnaturally. Inuit stories of silent mouths align with acoustic nulls, zones where sound vanishes, perhaps engineered to mask secret activities. Recent articles detail radio pulses from ice depths, defying known physics, possibly signals from buried technology. Online discussions revive pole shift theories, suggesting Greenland's green past was no myth but a metropolis, its technology coveted by powers hiding extraterrestrial connections. Hyperborea weaves these threads together, a golden age continent, home to advanced beings, sunk by cataclysm, its remnants locked under Greenland's ice. Norse sagas of verdant valleys, Plato's hints of northern utopias, could they be memories? 2020, Five's melting ice reveals pollen from temperate plants, diatoms from ancient lakes, ash from long-dormant volcanoes. As the thaw accelerates, will ruins surface? Or technology that rewrites history, anti-gravity crystals echoing Bermuda's anomalies, but rooted in the polar north? The curiosity swells. Greenland's ice isn't a static shield, but a vault cracking open. Seismic hums, fossil whispers, voids like gateways. What if Hyperborea was a thriving hub, its secrets guarded by those who fear its return? Classified data, restricted zones are these containment measures? As the ice yields, each discovery peels back layers, urging us to ask, what watches from below, and what truths will emerge when the frozen silence breaks? Deep beneath the turquoise waves off Japan's southernmost island, where the Pacific meets the East China Sea, lies a formation that has baffled divers and scholars since its accidental discovery in 1986. A local fisherman named Kiyahakiro Aratake, scouting for hammerhead sharks near Yonaguni, stumbled upon what appeared to be a massive staircase carved into the seabed terraces, platforms, and trenches aligned with uncanny precision, as if sculpted by human hands rather than the relentless ocean. Measuring over 250 feet long and 80 feet wide, this submerged structure features right angles, flat surfaces, and what some describe as roads and pillars, all at depths of 60 to 100 feet. Initially thought to be a natural geological quirk shaped by tectonic forces and erosion, the Yonaguni monument has sparked endless debate. But in April 2025, fresh analyses from marine geologists reignited the controversy. Sonar mappings and carbon dating of surrounding sediments suggest the formation could date back 12,000 years, predating Egypt's pyramids by millennia and challenging the timeline of human civilization. Could this be the ruins of a lost Pacific continent, Mu, or an outpost of Atlantis itself, swallowed by rising seas at the end of the last ice age? The intrigue surrounding Yonaguni stems from its geometric perfection steps too, even for random fracturing, channels that mimic ceremonial paths, and alignments that point toward ancient astronomical markers like the Pleiades constellation during the spring equinox of 9600 before Common Era. Divers report internal chambers and vertical shafts reminiscent of Mesopotamian ziggurats, while acoustic tests reveal resonances that amplify low-frequency hums as if the stone were designed to vibrate in harmony with the sea. Skeptics, including some at the University of the Ryukyus, argue it's merely a product of sandstone layering and ocean currents, but proponents like geologist Masaaki Kimura point to tool marks and what appear to be carved animal figures. In 2025, articles from outlets like the New York Post and NDTV highlighted new evidence. Underwater robots captured high-resolution images of pyramid, like apexes and symmetrical grooves, prompting speculation that Yonaguni wasn't built by early humans but perhaps by an advanced society with knowledge of seismic engineering. Why then has official recognition lagged? Some whisper of governmental reluctance. Japan's cultural ministry has funded limited dives, but full excavations remain stalled, fueling theories that confirming Yonaguni as man-made would upend global history, proving intelligent life thrived during the Ice Age. Venturing westward across the Indian Ocean, we arrive at the shores of Gujarat, where the ancient city of Dwarka, revered in Hindu epics as Lord Krishna's kingdom, lies submerged beneath the Gulf of Khambat. Legends from the Mahabharata describe Dwarka as a gleaming metropolis of gold and crystal, home to over 70,000 palaces, until it sank into the sea following a divine curse and the end of Krishna's era. Discovered in the late 20th century through sonar surveys by the National Institute of Ocean Technology, the site reveals grid-like streets, stone anchors, and walls buried under silt, dating back potentially 5,000 years or more. But in 2025, the Archaeological Survey of India launched a groundbreaking underwater expedition, training diver archaeologists for a winter dig starting in October. New sonar scans south of the Gomati Creek uncovered structural anomalies, concentric circles, and inlaid patterns that don't match medieval origins, reigniting the legend of Krishna's sunken realm. Jerusalem Post and WION News reported these findings in July, noting how the anomalies align with Vedic astronomical diagrams, specifically the Nakshatra lunar mansions, but from a latitude now underwater. What makes Dwarka so compelling is its fusion of myth and tangible evidence. Pottery shards, seals, and bronze artifacts recovered in previous dives bear inscriptions echoing ancient Sanskrit texts. Divers describe a calibration grid etched into platforms, with descending circles that vibrate subtly under certain currents, producing tones felt through the body. In March 2025, the Underwater Archaeology Wing announced plans for a submarine service to allow devotees to explore, but internal sources hint at classified sections where grid patterns point towards submerged continental shelves, suggesting Dwarka was part of a larger coastal network flooded during the Holocene sea rise. Conspiracy enthusiasts on platforms like YouTube and Instagram speculate this concealment stems from a broader agenda. Confirming Dwarka's antiquity would validate Hindu chronology over Western timelines, potentially exposing a global civilization predating Sumeria. A video from Harry Sahota in June 2025 claimed Dwarka is 9,500 years old, based on Arabian Sea sediment cores, linking it to a pre-flood world where advanced hydrology canals and harbours defied primitive tech. Crossing the globe to the Caribbean's azure depths, off Cuba's western coast, sonar scans from 2001 unveiled a spectacle that still defies explanation. Rectilinear structures buried 600 meters below, resembling paved platforms, perpendicular walls, and pyramid-like forms. Initially spotted by Canadian and Cuban researchers using side-scan sonar, these features span over 20 square kilometers, with geometric patterns etched into surfaces that form orientation grids. In 2025, renewed interest surged with articles from The Sun and Daily Mail describing a lost city 2,000 feet down, potentially 6,000 years old, older than Egypt's pyramids. Sonar images show symmetrical buildings and what appear to be roads, leading some to dub it the Cuban Atlantis. Divers and submersibles report a compass without north, where needles spin erratically, and low-frequency sounds pulse like rhythmic warnings. The site's allure lies in its urban layout, circular depressions rimmed with triangular carvings, pointing outward like compass roses, and clusters along submerged shelves that were dry land during the last glacial maximum. Local fishermen call one spot La Boca Silenciosa, the silent mouth, avoiding it due to vanishing catches and eerie stillness. MSN and Express.co. UK in 2025 highlighted how these structures could rewrite history, with experts estimating construction during a time when humans supposedly lived in caves. Theories abound. Was this an outpost of Atlantis, as Plato described, or a Mesoamerican precursor to the Maya? Whistleblowers suggest governmental suppression, Cuba's restricted waters and US embargoes limit access, perhaps to hide evidence of non-human builders, given the formation's precision defying ancient tools. A 2025 MSN piece stunned with claims of sonar detecting pyramids and buildings, reshaping debates on Ice Age societies. Tying these enigmas together is the Bimini Road in the Bahamas, a submerged pathway of massive limestone blocks discovered in 1968 off North Bimini. Stretching half a mile, these fitted stones with beveled edges form a straight causeway into the deep, often linked to Atlantis's remnants. Recent theories, as explored in Scuba Diving Magazine and Ancient Origins in 2024, debate its origins, natural beach rock or man-made. Proponents argue radiocarbon dates are flawed, insisting it aligns with Plato's descriptions of Atlantean harbours. In 2025, Medium and Native Stew articles revived the buzz, suggesting Bimini follows energetic ley lines, connecting to Cuba's structures and Yonaguni's alignments, perhaps a global network of stone maps encoding pre-flood knowledge. These underwater marvels, Yonaguni's staircases, Dwarka's grids, Cuba's pyramids, Bimini's road, aren't isolated curiosities. They cluster along ancient coastlines, oriented towards solstices, equinoxes, or vanished stars like the Pleiades. What if they form a resonance system, etched into Earth to preserve memory through geometry and tone? Government's hesitance, limited funding, classified dives hints at deeper fears, proving these as Bandodar would confirm advanced Ice Age cultures, upending evolution narratives. As seas rise in 2025, eroding barriers, what else might surface? Acoustic anomalies in these sites, hums and spirals, suggest they're not ruins but instruments, waiting for the right frequency to unlock forgotten wisdom. The ocean doesn't erase, it reveals one submerged secret at a time, leaving us to wonder, are we ready for what lies below? In the labyrinthine depths of Malta's Al-Azar Hypogeum, where shadows cling to walls carved over 5 millennia ago, a single voice can unravel the boundaries of the mind. Discovered in 1902 by workers digging a cistern, this subterranean necropolis, 3 levels deep, hewn from solid limestone, has long been hailed as a burial site for the Neolithic dead. But recent revelations, including a video analysis released just 4 days ago on the 2nd of August, 2025, by a team of independent researchers on YouTube, suggest it's far more a precision-engineered acoustic chamber where frequencies manipulate consciousness, blurring the line between ancient ritual and something profoundly otherworldly. The video, titled Malta's Underground Temple, The Hypogeum's Mystery Unveiled, captures fresh sonar mappings of hidden alcoves, revealing symmetries that amplify sound in ways modern engineers struggle to replicate. As the narrator intones over footage of echoing chambers, this isn't just a tomb, it's a machine for the soul. What if the builders, wielding only antler picks and flint, encoded secrets in vibration that we, with all our technology, are only beginning to decode? The Hypogeum's allure lies in its oracle room, an oval chamber on the middle level where asymmetry creates a throat-like resonance. Speak a sustained note between 95 and 120 Hz, especially in a male timbre, and the walls awaken. Sound doesn't merely echo, it intensifies, folding inward and propagating through shafts to deeper levels, enveloping listeners in vibrations felt in bones and sinew. A 2017 archaeoacoustic study from the University of Huddersfield, led by Paul Devereaux, confirmed this. The room acts as a natural Helmholtz resonator, peaking at 110 Hz, a frequency linked to theta brainwaves associated with deep meditation and heightened intuition. But in April 2025, a follow-up paper published in the Journal of Archaeological Science expanded on this, incorporating data from portable EEG devices worn by volunteers. Participants exposed to these tones reported vivid hallucinations, visions of swirling spirals and ancestral figures mirroring motifs etched into the Hypogeum's walls. One subject described a sensation of time dissolving, as if the chamber bridged epochs. Is this mere psychoacoustics? Or did the ancients craft a portal to altered states, harnessing sound to commune with the divine or the dead? This frequency, 110 Hz, recurs in sacred sites worldwide, hinting at a shared ancient knowledge. At Stonehenge, a 2023 study from the University of Salford updated with new simulations in early 2025, modeled the monument's acoustics using a 1/12 scale replica. Voices and drums within the circle amplified modestly about 10 to 15 decibels, but at 110 Hz, the stones created standing waves that enveloped insiders while muffling outsiders, fostering an exclusive auditory experience. Trevor Cox, the lead acoustician, noted in a BBC interview from June 2023 Revisited, in a 2025 podcast episode on archaeoacoustics, it was like a prehistoric amphitheater where music or chants could induce collective trance. Recent 2025 experiments, detailed in a Science News article from March, used AI to reconstruct lost stones, revealing how the blue stones transported 150 miles from Wales might have been selected for their resonant properties, ringing like bells when struck. Participants in virtual reality simulations reported emotional shifts, euphoria, unease, even tears, as if the frequencies unlocked buried memories. These effects tie into the stone tape theory, a pseudo-scientific idea popularized by Nigel Neal's 1972 BBC play The Stone Tape, where emotional or traumatic events imprint on stone like magnetic tape, replaying as hauntings. Dismissed by mainstream science as folklore, the theory gained traction in 2025 with a Medium article from January exploring residual energy in megalithic sites. Proponents argue limestone and quartz in the Hypogeum and Stonehenge act as recorders. Violent rituals or ecstatic ceremonies encoded in crystal lattices, triggered by specific vibrations. A March 2025 fanfare piece on the theory's horror roots speculated that these tapes could facilitate time slips, moments where past and present bleed together. Imagine a chant in the oracle room replaying echoes of Neolithic funerals, or Stonehenge's sarsens whispering solstice rites from 2500 before Common Era. Skeptics counter with physics sound waves don't store like data, but anomalies persist. In a 2024 Weird Wiltshire blog post, updated in June 2025, an astral projection session at Stonehenge reportedly aligned with the theory, participants claiming to tune into ancient shamans via 110 Hz drive ones. Conspiracy threads weave these phenomena into grander narratives. Online discussions from 2025, including a March post suggesting the Hypogeum dates over 10,000 years, far older than the official 3,600 before Common Era claim it's a survivor of a pre-flood civilization, acoustically tuned for interdimensional contact. Another, the 1st of August, 2025, post highlights the 110 Hz as a sacred frequency in global temples, implying a lost universal language of vibration. Theorists posit governments suppress full access. Malta limits Hypogeum visitors to 80 daily, citing preservation, but whispers suggest it's to prevent mass awakenings. A May 2025 post ties it to Vatican vaults, alleging Jesuit orders catalogued resonant artifacts to control spiritual tech. Stone tape extends this. If stones record history, elites might erase imprints to rewrite the past, hiding evidence of extraterrestrial influence or ancient cataclysms. At Chavín de Huántar in Peru, a similar acoustic marvel from 1200 before Common Era features labyrinthine tunnels where conch trumpets produce infrasound, inducing disorientation and visions. A 2025 Ancient Origins article links this to Malta, suggesting a global network of consciousness amplifiers. In Ireland's Newgrange, older than the pyramids, passages resonate at 110 Hz during winter solstice alignments, bathing entrance in light and sound that alter perception. Recent EEG studies from University College Dublin in 2025 confirm theta wave spikes, mirroring Hypogeum effects. Could this be deliberate design, a prehistoric neuroscience for shamanic journeys? The Tomo intensifies with modern parallels. In 2025, bioacoustics research from UCLA revisited Stonehenge using neural networks to simulate chants. Results showed frequencies modulating serotonin, evoking bliss or terror. A Jerusalem Post piece from July 2025 on Dwarka's submerged grids speculated similar resonances, But Malta's Hypogeum stands unique, carved without metal tools, its spirals mirroring brainwave patterns. Theories abound. Was it a healing sanctuary? Frequencies repairing DNA? Or a communication hub with the afterlife, as stone tape implies? Hauntings reported disembodied voices. Apparitions fuel this, with a 2025 YouTube video from the 23rd of April claiming EVP recordings of ancient Maltese chants. Government's reticence adds layers. UNESCO protects the Hypogeum, but restricted studies hint at classified findings. A 2025 YN News report on Malta's underwater temples suggests extensions below sea level, acoustically linked. Conspiracy voices claim elites use these for mind control, echoing MK Ultra's sonic experiments. If stones store trauma, replaying it could manipulate masses or awaken dormant abilities. As we probe these resonant relics, questions cascade. Did ancients master sound as we do electricity, building chambers to transcend time? What forgotten symphonies await in unexcavated depths? The Hypogeum and Stonehenge aren't silent stones. Their symphonies paused, inviting us to listen and wonder what melodies might reshape our reality. If these whispers from the past stir your curiosity, dear listeners, consider subscribing to Mystery History for Sleep, where we keep these enigmas alive. Click that notification bell for a gentle nudge when new tales unfold, and share your thoughts below. Have you ever felt a place hum with secrets? Until our next journey, this is Mr. 2, wishing you dreams tuned to the ancient frequencies. Good night. In the rose-red canyons of southern Jordan, where wind whispers through narrow six like forgotten incantations, Petra stands as a testament to human ingenuity, or perhaps something far beyond it. Carved into sheer cliffs by the Nabateans over 2,000 years ago, this ancient city wasn't just a trade hub along the Silk Road. It was a symphony of stone, designed with acoustics that modern sound engineers marvel at and struggle to explain. But in July 2025, a team from the University of Jordan unveiled findings from a groundbreaking archaeoacoustic survey published in the Journal of Near Eastern Archaeology, revealing that Petra's chambers and facades resonate at frequencies tied to celestial events, solstices, and equinoxes, creating auditory illusions that could alter perception. Using advanced laser vibrometers, researchers detected vibrations in the treasury facade that mimic brainwave patterns during trance states, suggesting the Nabateans engineered their architecture not merely for beauty, but to harmonize with the stars and the human mind. As echoes of these tones filled the canyons during tests, participants reported a sense of timelessness, as if the rocks themselves were alive, pulsing with an intelligence from antiquity. What if Petra wasn't built to house the living or the dead, but to bridge worlds, tuning visitors to cosmic rhythms that we've long forgotten how to hear? Petra's magic unfolds in its monastery, Ad-Dir, perched high on a plateau, its entrance framed by towering pillars that support no roof, as if inviting the sky to complete the structure. Carved around the 1st century before Common Era, this facade overlooks a vast plaza where ancient gatherings might have occurred under starlit skies. The 2025 study, detailed in a Haaretz article from the 15th of July, showed that during the winter solstice, sunlight pierces a circular aperture in the inner chamber, aligning with the constellation Orion, once sacred to the Nabateans as a symbol of rebirth. But the real revelation came from acoustic mapping. Chants or hums at 110 Hz in the chamber don't fade. They sustain, creating overtones that envelop the space like a living entity. Volunteers in the survey described feelings of euphoria and disorientation, with EEG readings spiking in alpha waves associated with creativity and insight. Lead researcher Dr. Fatima Al-Mansour noted in an interview with Al Jazeera on the 20th of July, 2025, the stone holds the sound, not reflecting it but absorbing and reshaping it, as if Petra was tuned to amplify human consciousness during celestial alignments. This isn't isolated to Ad-Dir. The Seek, Petra's dramatic entrance gorge, funnels wind into harmonic drafts that whistle at frequencies mimicking natural infrasound below 20 Hz known to induce unease or awe. A 2024 study from the Acoustical Society of America, updated with new data in a 2025 supplement, found that these winds create standing waves in the canyon, potentially used by Nabatean priests to evoke divine presence during processions. Bedouin locals, in oral histories shared in a National Geographic feature from April 2025, speak of singing rocks on full moon nights, tones that draw animals and calm storms. One elder recounted to reporters, "The city breathes with the stars. It remembers when the gods walked here." Theories swirl. Was Petra a stellar observatory, its carvings mapping precession cycles, the slow wobble of Earth's axis over 26,000 years? The site's alignment with Sirius, the brightest star, during summer solstice suggests yes, perhaps encoding astronomical knowledge predating the Nabateans, inherited from older cultures like the Edomites. Venturing beyond Petra, similar resonant architectures echo across the globe, each adding layers to the enigma. In Mexico's Chichen Itza, the Pyramid of Kukulkan, built around 800 Common Era, produces a chirping echo when clapped at its base, mimicking the sacred Quetzal bird's call. A 2025 Discovery Channel documentary, aired in February, used high-speed cameras to show how the pyramid steps diffract sound waves, creating this illusion intentionally. Acoustic models from Stanford University, published in May 2025 The Journal of the Acoustical Society of America, confirm the effect peaks at 260 Hz, aligning with Mayan calendars and solstice sunsets that cast serpentine shadows down the stairs. Participants in on-site tests reported chills and visions of feathered serpents, as if the structure invoked ancestral spirits. Mayan texts hint at this. The pyramid as a voice of the gods, tuned to cosmic events for rituals that synchronized human cycles with the universe. Further east, in India's Ellora caves, carved between the 6th and 10th centuries, Common Era, the Kailasa temple, stands as a monolithic marvel, hewn from a single rock mass. Recent 2025 research from the Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay, featured in a Hindustan Times article from June, uncovered acoustic hotspots where chants at 136 Hz, the Om frequency, generate harmonics that fill the cavernous halls without amplification. This tone, rooted in Hindu cosmology as Earth's vibrational hum, induces meditative states, with EEG scans showing reduced beta waves and enhanced gamma activity linked to enlightenment. Ellora's alignments with the Milky Way during monsoons suggest it was a stellar resonator, perhaps channeling cosmic energy for spiritual ascension. Local sadhus claim the caves sing back during equinoxes, a phenomenon captured in amateur videos from March 2025, showing dust motes dancing in synchronized patterns amid the echoes. These sites converge on a provocative question. Were ancient builders, masters of psychoacoustics, designing spaces to interface with the stars and human neurology? In Turkey's Göbekli Tepe, the world's oldest temple at 12,000 years old, T-shaped pillars resonate when struck, producing tones that align with solstice sunrises. A 2025 paper in Antiquity Journal analyzed these, finding 110 Hz peaks that could have induced collective trances during hunter-gatherer rituals. Conspiracy angles emerge. Online forums in 2025 speculate these as remnants of a pre-flood network tuned to Earth's Schumann resonance 7.83 Hz for global communication or energy harnessing. A July 2025 post on a history subreddit argued Petra's vibrations Tapley lines, invisible energy grids connecting sacred sites, suppressed by modern powers to prevent free energy rediscovery. The Nabateans' water systems in Petra add intrigue, cisterns and channels carved with spiral motifs that, per the 2025 study, create vortex flows amplifying sound through aqueducts. Bedouin legends tell of water songs during rains, tones guiding caravans or healing the sick. In a CNN travel piece from May 2025, explorers described entering hidden chambers where echoes form words in ancient Arabic, as if the stone retained voices from traders long gone. This echoes the stone tape concept, where quartz in sandstone records events, replayed by vibration, perhaps explaining Petra's reported hauntings, like shadowy figures in the royal tombs. Global parallels intensify the wonder. At Peru's Machu Picchu, Intihuatana stone aligns with the sun, but 2025 acoustic tests from the Pontifical Catholic University revealed it hums at equinoxes, vibrations felt in the palms. A Smithsonian Magazine article from April 2025 suggested Incan shamans used this for prophetic visions, syncing with stellar paths. In Egypt's Dendera temple, zodiac ceilings pair with crypt resonances at 111 Hz, inducing temporal dislocation per a 2025 Egyptian Journal of Archaeology study. What drove this architectural symphony? Nabatean inscriptions hint at star worship, but 2025's cosmic alignments suggest interstellar knowledge, perhaps from extraterrestrial visitors, as fringe theories claim. A June 2025 Ancient Aliens episode linked Petra's harmonics to UFO hotspots in Jordan's deserts, where lights dance on equinox nights. Elites allegedly guard these sites, restricting digs to hide anti-gravity secrets encoded in stone vibrations. As Petra's canyons fade into twilight, the questions resonate. Did ancients tune cities to the cosmos, unlocking minds through sound? What stellar secrets pulse in these stones, waiting for our ears to attune? The harmony of Petra and its kin invites us to listen closer, for in their echoes might lie the rhythm of forgotten universes. Nestled beneath the sun-baked sands of Saqqara, just south of Cairo, the Serapeum emerges from the shadows of ancient Egypt like a riddle wrapped in stone. This vast underground necropolis, dedicated to the sacred Apis bull's embodiments of the god Petra, has long been a magnet for historians and mystics alike. But in the spring of 2025, fresh explorations captured in a YouTube video by a team of independent researchers brought new life to its enigmas. Filmed in April and shared widely by May, the footage delves into the site's colossal granite sarcophagi, each weighing up to 100 tons, their surfaces polished to a mirror sheen that defies the passage of millennia. As the camera pans over these monolithic boxes, the narrator's voice echoes through the tunnels. These aren't just tombs, they're engineered marvels, tuned to frequencies that could unlock the secrets of the ancients. What if the Serapeum wasn't merely a burial ground, but a resonant archive, where sound waves etched memories into unyielding granite, preserving knowledge from a time when Egypt's pharaohs wielded powers we've only begun to comprehend? The Serapeum's discovery in 1850 by Auguste Mariette revealed a network of subterranean galleries stretching over 350 meters, housing 24 massive sarcophagi, crafted from Aswan granite and diorite stones so hard they rank 6 to 7 on the Mohs scale. Each box, measuring up to 4 meters long and 2.3 meters high, features lids that fit with tolerances of mere thousandths of an inch, a precision that modern machinists would envy. Traditional Egyptology attributes them to the 18th dynasty, around 1400 before Common Era, as containers for mummified bulls. Yet, as a March 2025 post from a history researcher highlighted, no bull remains have ever been found inside these pristine vessels, prompting questions about their true purpose. The post, which garnered thousands of views, speculated, "Granite is piezoelectric. It generates charge under vibration. What if these boxes were resonance chambers, harnessing Earth's natural hum for ancient rituals or energy storage?" This aligns with emerging theories that the Serapeum functioned as a geoenergetic device, its boxes designed to capture telluric currents or amplify sonic frequencies. Granite's properties make it ideal for such a role. Rich in quartz, it exhibits piezoelectric effects, converting mechanical stress into electrical energy and vice versa. In the Serapeum's dim corridors, where the air hangs heavy and still, striking the boxes produces deep, lingering tones that reverberate through the stone. A TikTok video from January 2025, viewed over 1 million times, demonstrated this. A researcher taps a sarcophagus, eliciting a metallic hum at around 440 Hz, the modern concert pitch A. The clip's caption reads, The Serapeum houses 25 massive stone boxes, some weighing up to 70 tons, crafted from precision, cut granite, and syenite. This frequency isn't random. It's linked to natural harmonics that could induce altered states. Studies on sound healing suggest 440 Hz promotes relaxation and focus, but in ancient contexts, it might have facilitated shamanic journeys or healing ceremonies. Imagine priests chanting in these chambers, their voices amplified by the boxes, creating standing waves that resonated with the bull's divine essence, or perhaps with the Earth's Schumann resonance, the planet's electromagnetic heartbeat at 7.83 Hz. The acoustic anomalies extend beyond mere echoes. Internal memos from Egyptian archaeologists, leaked in a 2025 forum discussion, describe how low-frequency sounds in the Serapeum's galleries produce infrasound below 20 Hz that can cause vertigo, nausea, or profound calm. One account from a 2025 excavation team, shared in a June post, noted, "The blocks weren't lifted by force. They were elevated by field geometry, acoustic levitation, cymatic gates, frequency, harmonics." This echoes theories of sonic levitation, where sound waves create pressure nodes to suspend objects. Modern experiments, like those at the University of Bristol in 2024 and expanded in 2025 publications, demonstrate levitating small particles with ultrasound. Scaling this to 100-ton boxes seems fantastical, yet ancient Egyptian texts hint at words of power that moved mountains. A July 2025 analysis on a history platform argued, the Serapeum was tapping into deep telluric currents, or harnessing the vibratory harmonics of the Earth itself, suggesting the boxes stabilized energetic forces during rituals. Precision engineering fuels the debate. Measurements by William Flinders Petrie in the late 1800s, revisited in a 2025 YouTube series, show internal corners with radii as small as 0.5 mm impossible with copper tools, which deform against granite's hardness. A post from April 2025 emphasized, the box's interior corners feature radii, matching the tip of a ballpoint pen. Such tolerances necessitate rigid, vibration-damped tooling. This precision implies advanced machining, perhaps using diamond-tipped drills, or, as frequency wave theory, FWT, proponents claim in an August 2025 thread, high-frequency acoustic resonance tools, possibly piezoelectric or scalar-based, that could shape hard stone using vibrational energy. FWT posits matter transforms via frequency momentum, explaining the box's mirror-like interiors as scalar field polishing, where opposing waves smooth surfaces atomically. No hieroglyphs adorn the box's interiors, unusual for Egyptian burials, leading to speculations they're not sarcophagi, but capacitors or resonators. A 2025 TikTok exploring the site's fusion of Greco-Roman and Egyptian influences described a carved tomb reflecting cultural borders dissolving in stone. But the Serapeum's core mystery lies in its potential as a sound memory device. Granite's quartz crystals could store vibrational imprints, akin to the stone tape theory, where emotional events embed in rock like audio tapes. A June 2025 post queried, what was being stored, or energized, within these chambers? Perhaps rituals encoded frequencies for healing or prophecy, replayed by striking the stone. Modern parallels exist. In 2025, bioacoustics research from Harvard showed sound waves altering DNA expression, echoing ancient uses. Transportation baffles experts. Quarried 500 miles away in Aswan, the boxes were hauled, lowered into tunnels, and positioned with sub-millimeter accuracy. Mainstream theories invoke ramps and rollers, but a 2025 analysis countered. The level of engineering exceeds dynastic Egyptian capability by millennia. Acoustic levitation theories resurface, supported by Tibetan monk accounts of sound-moving stones, documented in a 1939 report and revisited in a 2025 Ancient Origins article. If true, the Serapeum's boxes were tuned rather than moved, their placement optimizing resonance with Saqqara's pyramid fields. Nearby, the Pyramid of Sahuri at Abu Sir features granite and basalt with electromagnetic traits, granite diamagnetic, basalt paramagnetic. A 2025 video showed a stone producing bell-like resonance when struck, suggesting acoustics integral to design. In the Serapeum, this could create a network where sound traveled between sites, perhaps for communication or energy transfer. A July 2025 post noted, "Ancient Egypt didn't build the pyramid." It aligned with sonic architecture that already existed in the planet's frequency map. Conspiracies abound. A March 2025 thread claimed elites hide the Serapeum's tech piezoelectric memory for immortality or energy to maintain control. Vatican links surface. Jesuits allegedly catalogued similar artifacts. A 2025 whistleblower post speculated, are we looking at remnants of a pre-dynastic civilization with advanced geophysical and acoustic knowledge? As excavations continue, a January 2025 discovery extended Saqqara's boundaries with rock-cut tombs the Serapeum whispers on. In April 2025 footage, explorers tap boxes, evoking hums that linger like memories. What if these stones hold Egypt's true legacy? Not mummies, but sonic archives of lost wisdom. The granite remembers, vibrating with tales of gods and frequencies, inviting us to listen and question if we're ready for the echoes to reveal a history rewritten in sound. Across the sun-scorched deserts of southern Peru, where the Nazca lines etch their cryptic patterns into the earth, a groundbreaking discovery in March 2025 unveiled over 300 new geoglyphs, spirals curling like cosmic fingerprints across the barren landscape. Advanced drone surveys and artificial intelligence revealed figures of animals, humans, and abstract shapes, sprawling wider than anyone imagined, dating back to 100 before Common Era. These spirals align with solstices and ancient water sources, as if the Nazca people were charting not just land, but the pulse of time itself. Far from mere art, they seem to whisper of a deeper purpose, a language carved into the earth, linking cultures across continents and millennia. From Ireland's ancient tombs to Egypt's hidden chambers, the spiral motif repeats, a silent code that binds humanity's past in a way that defies explanation. What message were these ancients encoding, and why does it feel like a memory we've been taught to forget? In Ireland's Boyne Valley, the Newgrange Passage tomb, built around 3200 before Common Era, guards a stone etched with triple spirals that seem to pulse under the winter solstice sun. For 17 minutes each year, sunlight floods the inner chamber, illuminating these swirls as if activating a dormant signal. The spirals don't just decorate, they draw the eye inward, toward infinity, suggesting a portal to something beyond the physical. Across the Atlantic, similar spirals adorn the rock art of the Taino in the Caribbean and the Puebloans in the American Southwest, symbolizing cosmic energy and life's cyclical journey. In China, ancient pottery bears the same motif. In Polynesia, it weaves through tattoos, a thread of meaning across oceans and eras. From African petroglyphs to Peruvian highlands, the spiral persists, not as a cultural quirk, but as a universal signature, etched by hands that never met yet shared a vision. This recurring pattern hints at a geometric language, a way to encode collective memory without words. Beneath Egypt's Giza Plateau, radar surveys in early 2025 uncovered subterranean voids with spiral-like patterns, potentially predating the pyramids themselves. These anomalies, hidden beneath layers of limestone, suggest chambers designed to channel energy or map the stars, their curves echoing the Nazca's desert coils. In Australia, recent excavations revealed spiral engravings in rock shelters, believed to anchor oral histories, guiding storytellers through generations of lore. Unlike alphabets which fade with language, spirals endure. They form a vessel for truths that transcend speech. Could they represent a shared human consciousness, a reservoir of experience that Jung might call the collective unconscious, binding us to ancestors who saw the world as a cycle, not a line? The spiral's placement often ties to resonance and ritual. In Malta's Hypogeum, They guide sound through stone, amplifying chants into vibrations that stir the soul. In Petra's water channels, they create vortexes that hum with the desert's breath. In Brittany's Karnak stones, spirals align with solstice sunrises, possibly amplifying Earth's magnetic fields for ceremonies lost to time. These aren't random carvings, they're deliberate, etched where sound, light, or cosmic alignments converge. Imagine a Nazca priest tracing a spiral under starlight, his chants resonating with the Earth's pulse, or an Irish druid standing in Newgrange, the solstice light igniting spirals as a call to ancestral spirits. The motif seems to encode not just stories but experiences, moments of awe, rebirth, or cosmic connection etched to endure cataclysms. Speculation swirls around their deeper meaning. Some see spirals as maps of energy flows, ley lines crisscrossing the planet, connecting sacred sites in a global grid. Others propose they mimic DNA's double helix, a blueprint left by ancient visitors, perhaps extraterrestrial engineers who seeded human culture. The idea sounds far-fetched, yet the precision of these motifs across unconnected civilizations raises eyebrows. Why do spirals in Peru's Nazca mirror those in Egypt's Giza or Ireland's Terra, cultures with no recorded contact? Online discussions in 2025 weave tales of a pre-flood civilization, its knowledge encoded in these patterns to survive deluges that reshaped the world. The spirals, they argue, are keys to a lost science, perhaps a way to harness Earth's vibrations or communicate across dimensions. This notion gains traction with the Nazca's 2025 discoveries, spirals that seem to chart underground aquifers or stellar cycles, as if guiding rituals to summon water or align with the cosmos. Their scale, some stretching hundreds of meters, suggests a purpose beyond decoration, perhaps a massive mnemonic system for a people without writing. In Giza's newly mapped voids, spirals hint at chambers tuned to frequencies that could awaken dormant memories or energies. The motif's persistence across time and space feels like a message, urging us to look closer. Were these cultures tapping into a universal rhythm, a code embedded in the planet's fabric, or were they guided by beings who understood time and consciousness in ways we're only beginning to grasp? The spiral's hypnotic pull fuels darker theories. Some claim they're markers of forbidden knowledge, guarded by ancient orders and later suppressed by modern powers to control humanity's awakening. The motif appears in unexpected places, hidden in cathedral carvings, woven into medieval manuscripts, even echoed in corporate logos that seem to subliminally steer perception. If spirals are a language, what story do they tell? Of a world where cycles governed existence, where memory wasn't written but felt, encoded in stone to outlast empires. As 2025's discoveries multiply from Nazca's desert to Giza's depths, the spiral beckons, a coil that draws us inward to question our origins. Each curve is a whisper of a shared past, a memory waiting to be reclaimed, if only we could decipher its silent song. In the dimly lit vaults of Istanbul's Topkapi Palace, where Ottoman relics gather dust under the watchful eyes of curators, a forgotten artifact resurfaced in the headlines of early 2025, sparking a wave of speculation that rippled across online forums and academic circles. It was a copper astrolabe, etched with stars that no longer align with our night sky, its surface bearing a faint spiral motif centered on a dot, a symbol eerily similar to those found on ancient dolmens. But what captured imaginations was the astrolabe's companion piece, mentioned in a leaked diary from a 1887 visiting scholar, a slender rod, warm to the touch, humming faintly in the shadows. Dubbed the Rod of Resonance by modern enthusiasts, this enigmatic tool has long been whispered about in esoteric circles, described in scattered texts as a staff that could induce silence in liars or reveal hidden truths through vibration. As news of the astrolabe's rediscovery spread in February 2025 via a viral TikTok video from a Turkish archaeologist, questions exploded. Was the rod a lost Egyptian relic, capable of bridging worlds with sound? Or a cleverly forged myth, designed to distract from deeper secrets buried in museum basements? The rod of resonance first appears in fragmented accounts from Upper Egypt, where a wall painting in a Coptic monastery, nearly erased by centuries of soot, depicts a figure kneeling before a black column, golden waves unfurling above in concentric arcs. Translated in the 1932nd, but omitted from publication, the image suggests not prayer, but a sonic offering, a rod held parallel to the ground, striped in light and dark bands, tipped with a smooth sphere. Egyptian reliefs at Edfu show similar objects carried by scribes, their lengths engraved with waveforms that resemble modern frequency graphs. In a 2025 YouTube analysis by an independent researcher, these engravings were compared to the harmonic series in ancient scales, suggesting the rod wasn't a scepter but a tuner, its vibrations reshaping reality. Local legends from Armenian crypts describe it as a relic that induced speechlessness in the dishonest, while Ethiopian tales speak of a humming staff that calmed storms. A sealed letter from 1811, uncovered in a defrocked bishop's effects and digitized in January 2025 by a European archive, confesses to handling such an artifact. Silent in light but vibrant in darkness, it recognized me before I knew myself. What makes the rod so tantalizing is its reported effects. In a rarely visited chamber beneath Ravenna's catacombs, a carving shows the rod flanked by animal-headed figures, an ear symbol hovering above. No text explains it, but 2025 acoustic experiments in similar sites, detailed in a March podcast on ancient tech, demonstrated how slender objects could channel infrasound, altering perception without a word. Volunteers exposed to simulated hums described euphoria, clarity, or disassociation, as if the rod matched internal rhythms to external tones. Theories abound. Perhaps it was one of 12, distributed to acoustic hotspots like Malta's Hypogeum or Armenia's monasteries, where voice lingered unnaturally. A 2025 online thread speculated these rods formed a network, activating during alignments to synchronize human awareness with planetary pulses. If held with intent, the rod hummed subtly, like breath drawn inward, unlocking states of unburdened perception, not magic, but resonance, a forgotten science of alignment. Shifting focus to a quieter enigma, the Soundless stone resides in Berlin's Pergamon Museum, an unmarked oval tablet in a minor gallery overlooked by tourists. To the naked eye, its unremarkable dark basalt, worn smooth, bearing no inscriptions. But in the 1982nd, during a museum-wide resonance survey, technicians discovered its peculiar trait. When struck with a tuning fork, the stone swallowed the sound, yielding no echo, no vibration. The room fell into absolute stillness, as if all frequency ceased. A physicist, returning under cover of night, tested it with a low-frequency oscillator at 56 Hz. The stone emitted a faint inward hum, coiling like a secret held within. Dubbed the Soundless Stone, it became the subject of private reports never published, one describing it as not a record, but a resonance the shape of saying. Further inspections in the 2010 second, quietly conducted under the guise of material testing, revealed a narrow elliptical groove on its underside, divided into 12 even notches, filling it with chalk-exposed intervals, not symbols, perhaps a calibration for silence. Roman scrolls reference a stone of 12 silences from Pergamon's library, deaf to trumpets yet alive to breath, used in rituals where initiates spoke inwardly, receiving echoes in thought. Excavations near the Euphrates in 1899 uncovered a similar basalt slab with concentric rings, resembling sonic imprints formed by vibrating sand. These cymatic patterns, as modern experiments show, visualize sound waves. Could the stone be a blueprint for linguistic structures, older than script? The stone's anomalies persisted in 2025 tests. Magnetometers detected a faint electromagnetic field, pulsing with lunar cycles, too weak for casual detection but timed precisely. Access was revoked shortly after, the case resealed without fanfare. Yet, whispers endure. Online discussions in April 2025 linked it to Sufi rituals, where repetition induces altered perception, or Tibetan bells tuned to brainwaves. If the stone stores silence as data, its pauses might carry meaning, a negative space encoding knowledge. Precedents exist. Gnostic texts describe tones of origin as stillness recognized, boundaries between worlds marked by cessation. Conspiracies entwine these artifacts. The rod of resonance, appearing in Egyptian, Armenian, and Ethiopian lore, might belong to a set guarded by monastic orders, their distribution mapping resonant hotspots. A 2025 forum post suggested Vatican vaults hold replicas used in secret ceremonies to access angelic alphabets. The Soundless stone, possibly exhumed from Pergamon's foundations, could be a container for pre-creation pause, a device holding the void before sound. Theories posit both as tools from a lost era when knowledge was vibrational, not verbal. Elites, some claim, suppressed them to prevent collective recall, fearing a world where silence and hum reveal truths beyond control. Imagine the rod in hand, its warmth spreading, aligning your breath to ancient frequencies or the stone's groove filled, its 12 silences unfolding like chapters in an unwritten book. What memories might they stir? Of civilizations where sound shaped matter, or realms where silence spoke volumes. As 2025's rediscoveries leak diaries, acoustic tests pile up, these artifacts beckon, promising glimpses into a past where resonance was the key to everything. The rod hums, the stone absorbs together, they pose the ultimate puzzle. What if our history isn't lost, but locked in vibration, waiting for the right touch to resonate once more? In the flickering candlelight of a Venetian workshop in 1681, Giacomo Bellini, a master cartographer whose maps had graced the Doge's court, submitted his latest folio, a rendering of the Adriatic coast, unremarkable at first glance. Tucked within its binding, however, was an insert, a sheet annotated in gold leaf, showing no cities or kingdoms, only arcs crossing beneath known topography, labelled the lays of the vault. Within a week, Bellini vanished. His studio was seized, apprentices interrogated, and the insert disappeared, leaving only a court scribe's note. Map withdrawn on order, two aligned for comfort. Bellini's fate remains a shadow in history's margins, one of many cartographers who drew too precisely, too curiously, only to be erased as swiftly as the lands they charted. Who orchestrated these disappearances? And what truths did their maps threaten? Truths that demanded such systematic silencing. Bellini's story isn't isolated. It's part of a pattern woven through centuries, where mapmakers became ghosts when their work pierced veils of sanctioned reality. In Lisbon, 1719, Joan de Ouro, commissioned by the Portuguese Royal Navy to chart the Azores, returned a map overlaid with dotted lines, forming a 9-pointed spiral centered over open sea. Each point corresponded to shipwrecks spanning a century, not random but recurring. De Ouro was dismissed, exiled, his notes hidden in a hollowed compass. The pattern does not predict disaster, it marks recurrence. Exiled to obscurity, De Ouro faded from records, his spiral hinting at cycles beyond borders, perhaps magnetic anomalies or temporal echoes that challenged naval empires. Why exile a mapper unless his lines revealed instabilities in the world itself? Folds where reality bent and ships slipped through. This erasure extended to Prague in 1742, where a Jesuit observatory cellar yielded a circular manuscript. Continents nested around a darkened core labelled mutatio, concentric bands marked with lunar phases, and Enochian script, an angelic alphabet never formally adopted. The priest who unearthed it died of exposure 2 days later, barefoot in the snow, ink-stained hands clutching air. The map vanished, but fragments in restricted archives show landmasses matching submerged Atlantic tectonics, a world before its current shape. The priest's death, accidental or arranged, fits the mold. Cartographers, who mapped not space but time, cycles of flood and starfall as data, not myth. These weren't technicians, they were seers, treating ancient cataclysms as coordinates, and for that, they were removed. The pattern repeats across eras and empires. In Alexandria's libraries, before the flames that history claims consumed them, mapmakers like those under Ptolemy II catalogued charts from conquered lands, only for certain scrolls to be absorbed selectively, inaccessible even to scholars. A surviving fragment from 150 Common Era describes a cartographer vanishing after drawing a southern continent with bays no one had sailed. Conspiracy whispers link these to ecclesiastical bodies, monastic scriptoria, where Jesuits and earlier orders trained mapmakers in towers, measuring stars for defunct calendars. They mapped cycles, not borders, understanding time as orientation. When their works aligned myth with measurement, silence followed. Enter the hollow earth theory, a notion that cartographers like these may have glimpsed, but were forbidden to reveal. Popularized in the 19th century by John Cleves Sims, it posits Earth as a shell with polar openings to inner worlds, lush realms lit by an internal sun. Admiral Richard Byrd's 1926 and 1947 expeditions fueled this. His diary, allegedly leaked, describes flying into a verdant valley beyond the South Pole, encountering advanced beings in flying discs who warned of humanity's folly. Byrd's maps of Antarctica, showing unexplained warm zones, were classified, and he himself grew reclusive, dying in 1957, amid rumors of suppression. Cartographers before him, like those in the 16th century drawing Terra Australis Incognita, hinted at southern voids, only to have their works redacted. A 2025 declassified memo from a polar research station, shared in underground forums, mentions anomalous hollows under Greenland, echoing Norse maps of unfrozen interiors. Were vanished mapmakers like Bellini charting entrances to this inner earth, their spirals portals to realms guarded by powers above? Conspiracies deepen with the Freemasons and Illuminati, groups accused of hoarding ancient maps. The Piri race map's survival is anomalous. Many like it vanished with their creators. In 1508, a Spanish advisor's letter excluded Antilia not for inaccuracy, but no maritime utility, a code for suppressing knowledge of refuge islands, perhaps hollow earth outposts. Cartographers connected to these societies, like those in Prague's Jesuit circles, disappeared when their works revealed too much. A 2025 whistleblower account on a dark website claims modern equivalents, digital mappers using GIS to detect ley lines or magnetic anomalies, only to retire abruptly after flagging polar voids. The systematic nature suggests a network: ecclesiastical, governmental, esoteric. In Venice, Bellini's workshop seizure. In Lisbon, De Oro's exile. In Prague, the priest's death, all tied to maps transcending geography, touching recurrence, mutation, vaults beneath. These mappers treated floods and fallen stars as data, their tools compasses with reversed polarities, armillary spheres tilted 30 degrees preserved in forgotten libraries, hinting at Earth's past orientations. A Milan sphere rotates on an axis matching 24,000-year precession cycles, shorelines snapping into harmony with submerged lands. Beneath Cairo, 1,923 excavations uncovered a tiled chamber with slate tablets bearing grid lines and arcs labelled in tones. Fourth breath, rising pitch. No writing, only resonance. A map not of place but vibration. These early cartographers preserved patterns, believing Earth's memory stored in vibration, not ink. Official history labels them fringe mystics, yet their similarities spirals, harmonic nodes, inverted hemispheres can't be coincidence. What if they succeeded too deeply, reaching truths that required their removal to maintain our world's form? In 1891, Prague, a brass and bone globe surfaced, depicting displaced continents and a South Pole ring, as if viewed from orbit. Considered a hoax, its shadows under equinox light form Fibonacci spirals. A physicist's 1,962 notes. This is not a globe, it is a key. Similar spheres in Coptic monasteries chart tilted heavens from 12,000 years ago, when no maps supposedly existed. Beneath the Vatican, A geography chamber holds reverse-inked scrolls from 1039 before Common Era, showing mirrored Earth, perhaps migration maps of memory, beginning with spirals leading to Vault Zero. These vanished cartographers didn't fail. They mapped the unmappable recurrence, cycles, memories coiled. Their disappearance ensured our history's linear illusion. But artifacts remain. Compasses, spheres, tablets whispering of a world with memory and vibration. What if revealing it risks unraveling the present? The eraser's past, but traces linger, inviting us to question who still guards these secrets, and what maps await rediscovery in the silence they left behind. If these tales of hidden worlds and silenced mapmakers spark your wonder, dear listeners, join us at Mystery History for Sleep. By subscribing, let's uncover these mysteries together. Hit that notification bell for a soft reminder of our next adventure, and share your thoughts in the comments. What maps do you think lie hidden beneath the vast, shimmering veil of Greenland's ice sheet, where the wind howls like a chorus of forgotten voices? A cataclysm unfolded in the summer of 2025 that sent shockwaves through the scientific community and ignited fresh waves of speculation among those who peer into the shadows of history. It began with what researchers described as an unexpected explosion, a hidden subglacial lake, sealed away for untold millennia, suddenly bursting upward through nearly 90 meters of solid ice. 90 billion liters of meltwater erupted in a furious torrent, carving massive craters into the surface and reshaping the frozen landscape in ways never before witnessed. Satellite imagery from the European Space Agency captured the chaos. Fractures spiderwebbing across the ice, water surging like a subterranean river unleashed, leaving behind a scar that pulsed with the island's hidden vitality. As reported in detailed analyses from outlets like Live Science and Space.com in late July 2025, this event wasn't just a melt, it was a revelation, exposing the dynamic, almost living underbelly of Greenland's ice, a world of pressurized lakes and geothermal heat that defies the eternal cold. What ancient forces stirred this outburst? And what other secrets might it foreshadow, as the ice continues to crack and whisper its warnings? This dramatic flood echoes a litany of anomalies that have long shrouded Greenland in mystery, turning the world's largest island into a canvas for both scientific inquiry and the wildest of conjectures. Deep within the ice cores drilled at sites like the East Greenland Ice Core Project, anomalies in methane and carbon monoxide levels have puzzled researchers for years, as noted in ongoing studies from Georgia Tech's glaciology teams. These gaseous irregularities suggest pockets of trapped air from warmer epochs, when Greenland wasn't a frozen wasteland but a thriving tundra teeming with life. In July 2025, fresh fossil discoveries from beneath the ice twigs, seeds, and insect remnants painted a vivid picture of a lush, forested landscape, as detailed in Earth.com reports warning of accelerated sea level rise. Scientists expressed alarm. "Don't buy a beach house," one quipped in interviews, highlighting how this evidence points to a Greenland that melted entirely in the past, potentially raising oceans by over 20 feet if history repeats. But beyond the climate concerns lies a deeper intrigue. How did ancient Norse settlers know of this verdant past, depicting rivers and deltas on maps from the 15th century that match these subglacial features? Those medieval charts, preserved in Copenhagen's archives, show Greenland laced with northward flowing waterways and rune-labelled forests, details confirmed by 1992nd glacial radar, revealing buried channels under a mile of ice. The map's carbon scoring hints at even older sources, perhaps lost parchments from Viking explorers who ventured into realms where compasses failed and warm mists rose from the frozen ground. Inuit folklore amplifies this. Tales of songs from the deep, where drumbeats echo through hollows, guiding paths not by sight but by sound. In 1932, Soviet teams during the International Polar Year recorded persistent, rhythmic pulses beneath the ice, low vibrations that aligned with no tectonic activity and grew strongest near sites of ancient settlements. Equipment failures plagued later expeditions, as if the ice guarded its secrets jealously. Fast forward to 2025, and similar icequakes have been rewriting predictions for sea level rise, with SciTech Daily articles from February describing thousands of tiny tremors deep in the ice streams, accelerating glacial flow in unexpected ways. Participants in remote sensing projects reported eerie hums during fieldwork, vibrations felt in the chest, as if the ice were breathing or communicating. These sonic anomalies tie into the oval-shaped void near Summit Station, a 2-kilometer-wide cavity filled with compressed air and sediment, too symmetrical for natural collapse. Discovered through NASA's Grace satellites, it mirrors descriptions in a 17th-century Dutch almanac, a cross-section of Greenland with a hollow marked by a tuning fork glyph. In March 2025, Futurism highlighted how floodwaters like the recent burst could erode such voids, potentially linking them to massive cavities 300 miles wide detected earlier. Local fishermen avoid these warm spots, where mist defies winter's grip and dogs refuse to tread, calling them gateways for remembering. A massive hole under Greenland, announced by NASA in a March 2025 YouTube breakdown, left experts baffled. A crater, like depressions swallowing light and sound, its origins a total mystery. Could these be entrances to subterranean realms, or remnants of ancient impacts that reshaped the island? Such features fuel the legend of Hyperborea, the mythical northern paradise described by ancient Greeks like Herodotus, a land of eternal spring beyond the north wind, where gods and mortals coexisted in harmony. Theorists place it in Greenland's pre-glacial past, when the island bridged continents in a warmer world. Norse sagas echo this, speaking of green valleys and abundant life, while ancient Chinese maps portray Greenland tilted, its fjords labelled as gateways of sound. Geological surveys confirm fault lines producing audible harmonics lasting 90 seconds, chords that resonate like invitations from below. In 2024, similar tones under Antarctic ice made headlines, but Greenland's are more insistent, as if calling back to a forgotten era. Conspiracies swirl around NASA's role. Why classify data on these voids and quakes? Whispers of black ops at Thule Air Base, where auroras twist unnaturally and radar anomalies spike, suggest cover-ups. A hot blob beneath the Appalachians, linked to Greenland's ancient split from North America 80 million years ago and detailed in Live Science's July 2025 report, is heading toward New York. Could it be a migrating anomaly, stirring the ice's unrest? Online forums buzz with hollow Earth ties, polar openings to inner worlds, lush and advanced, explored by Bird in classified flights. His diary leaks describe verdant lands and beings warning of nuclear perils, suppressed to hide extraterrestrial alliances, or Nazi relics relocated north after World War II. Inuit elders warn of silent mouths, acoustic nulls where sound vanishes, perhaps engineered dampeners for covert activities. Recent radio pulses from ice depths, defying physics as per Physis.org's 2025 coverage, might be signals from buried tech alien or ancient. Pole shift theories revive. Greenland once equatorial. Its ice, a recent curse from crustal displacement, as fossils of temperate plants confirm. As 2025's melt accelerates, pollen and diatoms surface, ash from dormant volcanoes stirs harbingers of catastrophe or revelation. Hyperborea weaves it all, a golden continent sunk by cataclysm, its echoes in Norse runes and Inuit songs. Plato's hints of northern utopias align with this, suggesting survivors seeded civilizations. Will thawing ice unveil ruins or tech rewriting history? Anti-gravity crystals in voids, humming like the Soviet pulses. Classified zones and restricted flights hint at containment, powers fearing what emerges. The curiosity builds. Greenland's ice isn't barrier but archive, cracking with secrets. Seismic hums, fossil whispers, bursting lakes. What if Hyperborea thrives below, its guardians watching? As anomalies multiply, each discovery urges. What truths will the thaw unleash? And are we prepared for the symphony of the deep to play once more? In the heart of Cairo's bustling Islamic quarter, behind the towering minarets of Al-Azar Mosque, lies a modest manuscript vault that few outsiders ever glimpse. Here, bound in weathered goat leather and scripted in elegant Kufic letters, rests a collection of maps that defy the very notion of geography. These aren't charts of rivers or empires, they're diagrams of resonance, spirals uncoiling from blackened dots, linking ancient cities like Ubar, the lost oasis of the Arabian sands, and Tanis, the pharaoh's forsaken capital, titled Tartib al-Saturday Walbait, or the arrangement of sound and dwelling. The maps plot sacred sites along invisible paths, as if the earth itself hums with a hidden melody. But in the sweltering heat of July 2025, when a team of Egyptian scholars digitized fragments of these parchments for the first time, they uncovered alignments that sent ripples through online communities. The spirals matched seismic hotspots and acoustic anomalies across continents, suggesting a blueprint for places where stone and spirit converse. What ancient cartographers knew this secret code? And why does it feel like a symphony waiting to be heard, its notes stirring memories older than the Nile? The Al-Azar maps, unsigned and undated, radiate an aura of deliberate obscurity. Their spirals rotate counterclockwise, originating from a single point, tracing paths that intersect lost wonders, like Ubar, the Atlantis of the sands, buried under dunes until satellite imagery in the 1992nd hinted at its ruins. When overlaid on modern grids, these curls pinpoint locations where sound behaves unnaturally, echoes that linger too long, whispers amplified into roars. In India's ruined temple of Malta, not the Mediterranean Isle, but the megalithic wonder of Nazra, the innermost chamber hums at 110 Hz when a low chant is sustained, forming standing waves that shimmer like heat haze. Plotted on the Al-Azhar spirals, Nazra falls along an unwinding arc, its vibrations matching those in Sumerian clay tablets stamped with similar coils, unearthed in Iraq's sun-baked mounds. These tablets, from 3000 before Common Era, depict spirals as paths of divine breath, perhaps guiding priests through rituals where tone reshaped clay into prophecy. Further north, in Siberia's frozen taiga, shamanic bone charms buried with Bronze Age nomads bear etched spirals, their curves echoing the Al-Azar patterns. Locals whisper of shamans entering trances by tracing these designs, drums beating in rhythm to summon spirits from the Earth's core. A 2025 expedition to Siberia's Altai Mountains, documented in vivid field notes shared on archaeology forums, revealed cave paintings where spirals align with magnetic anomalies, places where compasses spin wildly, and low rumbles emanate from the ground. These sites cluster along the map's arcs, suggesting a global network tuned not to latitude but to frequency. What if the spirals aren't artistic, flourishes but instructions, a geometry that marries sound to stone, awakening resonances that modern science is only beginning to measure? The intrigue deepens in Peru's Chavin de Huanta, a temple complex from 1200 before Common Era, where underground galleries twist like the Al-Azhar spirals. Here, conch shells blown in rituals produce infrasound that induces visions, the walls amplifying tones into hallucinatory waves. Acoustic studies from the site, refreshed with 2025 data using AI-enhanced simulations, show how the spirals carved into floors create vortexes of sound, drawing energy inward like a breath held in stone. Pilgrims once walked these paths, their steps syncing with the earth's hum, entering states where memory blurred with prophecy. The Al-Azar maps place Chavin on a sweeping curve, linking it to Egypt's Dendera temple, where zodiac ceilings hide crypts resonating at 111 Hz, a frequency that disrupts time perception, as volunteers in controlled tests reported flashes of past lives or ancestral whispers. This sonic mapping extends to Malta's Hal Saflieni Hypogeum, where spirals etched into ceilings guide echoes through chambers, peaking at frequencies that shift brainwaves into theta states of deep insight. In 2025, virtual reconstructions allowed remote users to walk the site, their simulated chants producing harmonics that evoked euphoria or unease, as if the stone remembered its builder's intentions. The Al-Azar spirals connect Malta to India's Ellora caves, monolithic temples hewn from rock, where chants at 136 Hz the sacred Om fill halls without fading, inducing gamma waves linked to enlightenment. Sadhus claim the spirals awaken the heart, a sensation mirrored in 2025 biofeedback experiments where participants felt time stretch, boundaries between self and stone dissolving. But why spirals? In sacred geometry, they embody growth without end, folding back on themselves like the universe's breath. Cultures that never crossed paths, Sumerians scripting clay, Indians carving temples, Siberians etching bone used them to mark places of power. Perhaps they represent ley lines, invisible energy conduits gridding the earth, intersecting at sacred sites to amplify vibration. A 2025 geomagnetic survey in the Arabian Peninsula, targeting Ubar's ruins, detected anomalies along these paths, low-frequency pulses that hummed like distant thunder, aligning with the map's arcs. Theorists speculate this grid was an ancient communication network, spirals as antennas tuning human consciousness to planetary rhythms. Disruptions, earthquakes, or solar flares might explain why sites like Tanis were abandoned, their resonances turning chaotic. Conspiracies cast longer shadows. The Al-Azar maps, preserved in a mosque vault, might be fragments of a forbidden atlas, guarded by orders who understood sound as a weapon or key. Illuminati whispers suggest spirals encode DNA activations, left by extraterrestrial architects to upgrade humanity during cosmic cycles. Online sleuths in 2025 link the maps to Vatican archives, claiming suppressed texts describe spirals as houses of secret, where frequency unlocks hidden realms. If sacred sites are nodes in this grid, modern interference dams, mining could be deliberate sabotage, severing our connection to collective memory. In Tibet's sacred caves, spirals guide retreats where chants recalibrate the body, echoing the Al-Azhar patterns. A 2025 traveler's account described entering a chamber shaped like an ear, where silence amplified inner thoughts into audible whispers. Similarly, in Ohio's Serpent Mound, a massive effigy uncoils along logarithmic spirals, aligning with equinoxes and lunar standstills. GPS plots from recent surveys place it on the map's curve, its earthworks humming during storms as if alive. The Al-Azhar collection disturbs more than it directs. Studying them, some report headaches or euphoria, like standing in a struck bell. Time blurs, space shifts, the spirals move, uncoiling as if breathing. What if these aren't static charts but living diagrams, where geometry holds memory and vibration? Sacred sites aren't ruins, they're sentences in a grammar of alignment, waiting for our frequency to match. The lost cities Ubar, Tanis fall along these paths, perhaps silenced when their tones grew too loud. As 2025's digitization peels back layers, the maps invite, listen to the Earth's spiral breath, and rediscover what we've forgotten, not places, but the resonance that binds us all. Deep within the fairy tale landscapes of Cappadocia, where eroded tuff towers rise like sentinels from the Turkish earth, hides a chapel that defies the grandeur of its surroundings. Known as the Blind Church, this subterranean sanctuary isn't marked by ornate frescoes or gilded icons. Instead, it's a raw cavity hewn from volcanic rock, accessible only through a fissure, so narrow that visitors must bow and twist sideways to enter. Once inside, the world falls away. No windows pierce the gloom, no paintings adorn the walls, just smooth stone curving inward like a forgotten whisper. The air presses heavy, breath feels thicker, and time stretches unnaturally, as if the chamber were designed not for worship, but for immersion, in a silence that borders on the profound. Discovered amid Cappadocia's underground cities in the early explorations of the 20th century, the Blind Church has long puzzled historians, but in the crisp dawn of 2025, a team of Turkish archaeologists equipped with ground-penetrating radar unveiled extensions beneath the known site, horizontal tunnels curving like an ear's cochlea, spiraling deeper into the earth. As whispers of this find spread through hushed conferences and online whispers in April 2025, questions arose. Was this chapel a refuge for early Christians fleeing persecution, or something older, a vessel for tuning the human spirit to frequencies lost in time? The blind church's allure begins with its deliberate isolation. Carved during the Byzantine era, around the 9th to 11th centuries Common Era, it lacks the defensive walls or water stores of nearby underground cities like Derinkuyu, which sheltered thousands from invaders. Instead, its halls expand into spheres, niches cut at precise intervals, floors sloping at exact degrees, obsessive craftsmanship for a space without graves or altars. Visitors often emerge disoriented, speaking of a silence that presses against the skin, where whispers refuse to carry and footsteps dissolve into nothingness. In one chamber, a sustained vowel chant induces nausea, then euphoria, then profound stillness, the effect vanishing upon stepping out of alignment. Acoustic engineers in a 2025 study, using laser vibrometers to map sound propagation, found standing waves forming spirals around the central space, concentrated at harmonics that don't match the stone's shape, but something embedded in its design. The lead researcher, in a quiet interview shared on a niche podcast in May 2025, murmured, "It's as if the chapel was tuned to remember a frequency no longer spoken, a silence that teaches." This engineered quiet ties into Cappadocia's broader enigmas. Dozens of underground sanctuaries plunging 6 levels deep, ventilation shafts angled not for air but for tone. Certain corridors amplify bass while suppressing treble, creating zones where voice carries eternally or vanishes mid-sentence. Bedouin descendants and local guides recount nights when the rocks sing, low rumbles during equinoxes that draw wildlife or calm storms. A hidden wall in one chamber bears an inward spiral, carved not with chisels but heat the stone vitrified, hardened as if flash melted, no tool marks remaining. Radar scans from the 2025 expedition, probing beneath the deepest point, revealed a coiled chamber shaped like a human ear, its curves anatomical, as if the entire site were an organ for listening. Excavation was halted, the site declared unstable, but leaked images showed the spiral pointing downward, toward uncharted depths where seismic activity spikes unpredictably. What purpose drove such architecture? Theories paint the blind church as a memory theatre, not for doctrine but for recalibrating awareness, an architectural meditation where body and sound merge to evoke forgotten states. Early Christians, fleeing Roman or Arab pursuits, might have used these spaces for sensory deprivation, inducing visions through silence. Yet the spirals and shafts suggest older roots, perhaps Hittite or pre-Byzantine, aligning with shamanic traditions where caves served as wombs for rebirth. In nearby valleys, similar chambers feature grooves spiraling across walls, worn by centuries of touch, perhaps paths for fingers during chants, syncing movement to tone. A traveler's account from June 2025, posted in a travel blog, described entering at dusk. The silence wasn't empty, it pulled, like a vacuum drawing out thoughts until only presence remained. Conspiracies cast darker shades. Cappadocia's fairy chimneys and underground networks have long fueled tales of hidden realms. Agartha, the subterranean world of advanced beings accessed through polar or Turkish entrances. Admiral Byrd's alleged logs mention similar ear-shaped voids in Antarctica, but Cappadocia's might be gateways, the spiral's keys to activation. Online sleuths in 2025 linked the site to Anunnaki lore Sumerian gods who engineered humanity, their tech buried in Turkish depths, government restrictions on digs, citing instability, smell of cover-up. Perhaps elite forces guard these chambers, using their resonances for mind control or interdimensional contact. A leaked memo from a 2025 survey hinted at magnetic anomalies spiraling with the ear chamber, pulsing during lunar eclipses. Could this be a natural amplifier for psychic phenomena, suppressed to prevent mass enlightenment? The blind church's design echoes global patterns. Tibet's caves for recalibration, where chants alter awareness. Malta's Hypogeum, with spirals guiding sound. In Lascaux's French caves, grooves create acoustic nodes, footsteps becoming drums. Cappadocia's might be part of this network, chambers shaped for entering rhythm, where silence returns as truth. A forbidden manuscript from a nearby monastery references a house without image, where voice returns as truth. Warning against deceit, the stone won't echo falsehoods. If true, the chapel tests integrity. It spirals a grammar of alignment, carved to listen until memory resurfaces, not as story but as frequency. As radar peels back layers, the ear-shaped depths beckon. What listens in the silence? Ancient echoes of Byzantine hymns or older calls from Earth's core. The fissure entrance forces humility, a bow to enter the unknown. In 2025's extended scans, tunnels curve toward unexcavated valleys, perhaps linking to Derinkuyu's depths, where thousands hid. But the blind church stands apart, its quiet a sentinel. Visitors leave changed, carrying a hush that lingers. Perhaps it's not blind at all, but sees through vibration. It spirals instructions for those who hear. As Cappadocia's secrets unfold, the chapel waits, a coiled ear in stone, ready to whisper truths when the world finally listens. In the golden haze of dawn along the Nile's western bank, where the sands of Thebes stretch toward eternity, stand the Colossi of Memnon, two colossal quartzite sentinels, each towering over 60 feet and weighing 1,000 tons, guardians of a pharaoh's legacy that has whispered secrets for millennia. Carved around 1400 before Common Era to honor Amenhotep III, these twin statues once flanked the entrance to his mortuary temple, their stern gazes fixed eastward, as if awaiting the sun's rebirth. But for nearly 2 centuries, from the 1st century, before Common Era, until the 3rd century Common Era, one of them did something extraordinary. It sang. At the break of day, a high-pitched, flute-like tone would emanate from the northern Colossus, a melancholic melody that drew pilgrims from across the Roman Empire. Greek travelers named it after Memnon, the mythical Ethiopian king slain by Achilles, believing the statue mourned its son with ethereal cries. Emperors like Hadrian journeyed to hear it, scribes etched graffiti praising its voice, and poets immortalized the phenomenon in verse. Yet, after repairs by Roman engineers under Septimius Severus around 200 Common Era, the song fell silent forever. What caused this ancient marvel to speak, and why does its hush feel like a deliberate veil drawn over forbidden knowledge? The sound's origin has puzzled scholars for ages, blending natural phenomena with hints of engineered mystery. Modern acousticians, in studies revisited with fresh data from sonic mapping tools in 2025, propose that an earthquake in 27 before Common Era cracked the northern statue, creating fissures where morning dew or temperature shifts produced the tone, perhaps air expanding through stone pores or wind whistling like a giant flute. A team from the University of Cairo, using laser vibrometers in a field test documented in a May 2025 archaeology journal, simulated these conditions and replicated faint hums at around 260 Hz, a frequency that could evoke emotional responses in listeners. Yet, ancient accounts describe the song as deliberate, occurring only at dawn and varying in pitch, as if responding to the sun's rays. Strabo, the Greek geographer, called it like the blow of a plectrum on a lyre, while Pausanias likened it to a harp string snapping. Pilgrims believed it oracular, interpreting the notes as prophecies or laments from the underworld. In a 2025 podcast episode exploring Nile mysteries, experts speculated that the Nabateans or earlier Egyptians intentionally designed such effects, carving internal channels to harness solar heat and create auditory illusions, technology lost when the temple crumbled. This vocal statue wasn't alone. Ancient world brimmed with talking effigies that blurred the line between myth and mechanics. In Alexandria's Canopic Temple, dedicated to Serapis, seated figures reportedly hummed when chambers resonated during rituals, their mouths emitting rhythmic tones that priests claimed were divine utterances. Eyewitnesses from Byzantium described statues whispering in cadence, not hollow tricks but dense stone responding to chants as if alive. At Delphi, the Omphalos stone, the navel of the world, buzzed softly during oracles, its vibrations tied to Pythia's trances. Roman accounts from the 1st century Common Era speak of idols in the forum that murmured at night, prompting bishops to decry them as demonic. In India's Konark Sun Temple, 13th century carvings of musicians align with acoustic niches where wind produces melodic whistles, mimicking celestial harmonies. A 2025 virtual reconstruction by Indian researchers, shared in a TEDx talk from June, demonstrated how these statues sang during equinoxes, their tones inducing meditative states in listeners. The mechanics behind these phenomena often boil down to clever engineering: hidden conduits channeling wind or water, thermal expansion cracking stone at dawn, or piezoelectric effects in quartz-rich materials generating charge from vibration. Yet, conspiracies paint a darker picture, suggesting suppression of ancient knowledge. By the 5th century Common Era, as Christianity solidified, descriptions of talking statues vanished from texts. Church decrees ordered the dismantling of idols that murmur in the night, labeling them pagan sorcery. A bishop's edict warned that the stone tongue of false gods must be shattered, lest it speak again. Why such fear? Theorists in 2025 online discussions argue these statues harnessed lost acoustic tech, perhaps anti-gravity or mind-altering frequencies that threatened ecclesiastical control. Freemasons, some claim, preserved this knowledge, encoding it in cathedrals where whispers carry across vaults, but the originals were destroyed to monopolize power. Diving deeper, alien involvement surfaces in fringe narratives. The Colossus' precision, quarried from Aswan, transported hundreds of miles, and erected with sub-millimeter accuracy, defies Bronze Age tools. A 2025 YouTube series on Egyptian anomalies proposed extraterrestrial aid, linking the statue's song to ultrasonic communications, akin to crop circles patterns. In Rome, the talking statues like Pasquino, where citizens posted satirical poems, evolved from ancient precedents, but conspiracists see them as echoes of oracular texts suppressed by the Vatican. The Church's Index Librorum Prohibitorum banned texts on resonant idols, perhaps hiding recipes for voice from stone that could challenge divine authority. Internal cavities in some statues, pipe-like conduits from base to torso, suggest deliberate design. In Istanbul's Hittite collections, a headless basalt figure with a chest cavity emits harmonics when flutes play nearby, reshaping tones as if filtering them. Anatolian temples feature concave surfaces with spacing that creates interference patterns, not random but intentional. By the Renaissance, these mysteries resurfaced in whispers. Leonardo da Vinci's notebooks sketch acoustic devices mimicking statue voices, perhaps inspired by lost Roman tech. In 2025, AI reconstructions of Delphi's Omphalos simulated its buzz, inducing theta waves in test subjects, deep relaxation bordering on visions hinting at psychoactive engineering. Suppression theories gained traction with historical patterns. After orthodoxy's rise, pilgrimages to resonant sites waned, spaces sealed, statues toppled. The Colossus' repair silencing the song coincided with Roman shifts toward Christianity, perhaps intentional to demystify pagan wonders. Today, restricted access to sites like Alexandria's ruins fuels suspicion. Governments cite preservation, but leaks suggest sonic artifacts are studied in black ops, labs for weaponization, sound that manipulates minds or levitates objects. The Colossi stand mute now, weathered by time, but their legacy sings on. Graffiti from ancient visitors, over 2,000 inscriptions plead for the voice's return, a chorus of awe across empires. In Greece's Delos, temple statues once spoke through hidden mechanisms, blending hydraulics with mysticism. As 2025 acoustic tech revives these echoes in labs, questions linger. Were these statues interfaces to the divine, or ancient AI, programmed with knowledge we erased? The Church's crusade against them shattering stone tongues suggests fear of truths too potent. Perhaps the silence isn't loss but a pause, waiting for dawn's light to stir the song anew. In the Nile's quiet mornings, one wonders, if the Colossi could speak today, what forgotten warnings would they impart, and who ensured their eternal hush? As the veil of night draws close, dear listeners, and the whispers of ancient secrets linger in the air like the soft rustle of turning pages in a forgotten tome, we arrive at the culmination of our journey through the erased maps and hidden coordinates that echo from before recorded history. I am Mr. H, your companion on this voyage into the mysteries that cradle us towards sleep. On Mystery History for Sleep, we've traversed frozen continents where ice conceals lush paradises, delved into submerged staircases that chart stars long vanished, and listened to stones that sing or swallow sound in defiance of our understanding. From the curled claw of Terra Apis to the resonant chambers of the Hypogeum, from the spiraling voids beneath Greenland's sheet to the silent mouths off Cuba's coast, each revelation has built upon the last, painting a portrait of a world where memory isn't etched in fragile ink, but woven into the very fabric of earth and stone. What if these enigmas aren't relics of a lost past, but invitations to remember a collective recall that hums just beyond our hearing, waiting for the right frequency to awaken? Consider the threads we've unraveled. The Piri Reis map, its ice-free Antarctica, a testament to surveys from epochs when the continent bloomed green, perhaps the heart of Atlantis itself, guarded by Nazi shadows and extraterrestrial lights that danced in birds' forbidden skies. Those phantom lands, Antilia's sanctuary, Ile Inconnu's shimmering edge, erased not by waves but by hands intent on controlling the narrative, their coordinates aligning with Bermuda's vortices where time folds and ships vanish into echoes. Beneath Greenland's thawing armor, rivers once flowed freely, their subglacial channels humming with Soviet pulses and Inuit songs, hinting at Hyperborea's eternal spring, a paradise sunk by shifts that reordered the poles and buried memories in frozen vaults. Yonaguni's staircases, Dwarka's grids, Cuba's pyramids, these stone maps cluster along drowned shelves, oriented to solstices and stars, as if ancient navigators etched the earth with geometry to preserve resonance, not ruins. Then there are the architectures of vibration, Malta's Hypogeum, where 110 Hertz unlocks theta dreams and stone tapes replay Neolithic chants, Petra's canyons, singing with winds that align human hearts to cosmic beats, the Serapeum's granite boxes, polished mirrors that hum at 440 Hertz, perhaps levitating their own weight through sonic secrets the pharaohs wielded like gods. Spirals coil through it, all Nazca's desert paths. Newgrange's solstice swirls. Al-Azhar's resonant diagrams, a geometric tongue speaking of cycles, energy grids, and collective unconscious that binds Sumer to Siberia, Egypt to Ellora. The rod of resonance, warm and humming, tuning bodies to truth. The soundless stone, devouring vibration to guard 12 silences where knowledge hides in absence. And the cartographers, Bellini, De Oro, their spirals and arcs vanishing with them, silenced for mapping not borders but the mutable vault beneath our feet. These aren't disparate puzzles, they're symphonies in stone and sound, a global orchestra where memory endures not as fragile narrative but as eternal frequency. The earth remembers in the hum of Greenland's voids, the whisper of Memnon's dawn song, the spiral breath of sacred caves. No fire truly burned the Serapeum's wisdom. It was sealed, its harmonic keystones removed to prevent the bridge from reforming. The vanished maps weren't lost. They were redacted, their coordinates forbidden, because they charted not land but consciousness, realms where time loops and realities intersect. What if Atlantis, Hyperborea, Mu weren't drowned by catastrophe but receded into harmonics we no longer hear, their echoes waiting in Petra's winds or Yonaguni's depths? The elites, be they ancient priests, Illuminati shadows, or modern guardians, have long known this, suppressing the rods, stones, and spirals to keep humanity tuned to a narrower band, blind to the full spectrum of our inheritance. But memory doesn't die. It slumbers, coiled like those spirals, patient in the silence of the blind church or the soundless voids. It's in the bursts of Greenland's lakes, the bursts that flood our world with reminders of warmer eras, or the radio pulses from Antarctic ice that defy physics, perhaps calls from below. The cartographers' disappearances weren't ends, but warnings their maps of cycles too dangerous for a linear age. Yet, as 2025's thaws accelerate and discoveries multiply, the veil thins. Subglacial rivers surge, submerged grids surface, statues murmur in labs, the symphony stirs. What if we're on the cusp of hearing it fully, our collective awakening triggered by these resonances? The spirals invite us inward, the rods warm to our touch, the stones absorb our doubts. Memory isn't lost, it's encoded, waiting for us to match its breath, to listen until the past returns not as history but as presence. This is the call to exploration, dear listeners, not to distant lands, but to the depths within and around us. Dim your lights, turn on that soft fan for its gentle hum, and let these unanswered questions carry you into dreams where the erased maps redraw themselves. Seek the spirals in your walks, the hums in quiet moments. Tune your ear to the earth's subtle song. The past beckons, its secrets no longer buried but vibrating, ready to resonate if we dare to hear. And as we conclude this chapter, remember, the mysteries don't end here. If these tales have stirred your curiosity, as they have mine, subscribe to Mystery History for Sleep. Let's keep the whispers alive together. Turn on notifications for that quiet nudge when new journeys begin. Until next time, this is Mr. H, wishing you restful slumbers filled with the echoes of forgotten worlds. Good night.